Hey, Victor here, and I have something special for you today. It's a tutorial showing 50 of the most useful shortcuts in Microsoft Excel. I've split them into 5 levels, from beginner to advanced, and I've included 6 power combos hidden inside the 50 that will unlock when you learn certain shortcuts. Let's go! When you're new to Excel, it can be hard to remember a lot of keyboard shortcuts. It's too much too soon. Instead, start by remembering just one shortcut. Alt-Q. You see, Alt-Q unlocks a whole lot more, and it gives you a high return on investment. Simply press and hold the Alt key, then press Q, then let go of both. This activates the search box, which is also known as the Tell Me box in Excel 2016-2019. So what can you do with this? Let's say I wanted to change this text to bold. I click this cell, and then I press Alt and Q. Then I type in BOLD for bold, and then I use the down arrow, and I can hit Enter to select that action. Or, if I want to add a shape, I press Alt Q, then type Shape, hit down arrow and right arrow, then I can choose with the arrow keys and hit Return to select. And then I can reposition the shape to where I want. I can even change the format, say the row height. I press Alt Q and type Format, down arrow, right arrow, and it's highlighted row height, so I type in Enter, and then I can select a row height, say 40, hit Enter again, and it's changed the row height. I can also search for a file, so I'll hit Alt Q and say 30 tips. If I type that in, you'll see it shows the file Top 30 Excel Tips and Tricks 2024, which is from my previous video. I click on that, and it opens up the file for me. So you see, Alt Q is super versatile because it lets you do many things with one simple shortcut. Next, we have F4. Just like Alt Q, F4 is super versatile because you can apply it to all sorts of things. Pressing F4 lets you repeat your last action as many times as you want. For instance, I can right-click on column C, then click on Hide, and that will hide column C. Now I press the right arrow twice, and then press F4 to hide column E. And then press the right arrow again twice, and press F4, and I can do that all the way across. I can also change the number format. So if I select this 1000, and then click on this arrow, it brings up the Format Cells dialog box. Now I can change the font and the font size, and then maybe the fill and the number format, and then click OK. Then anywhere I want to reapply that, I just press F4. And you can even apply this to borders. So if I select these cells and then click on this drop down arrow and select more borders, I could select a bold outline, a thin inside, and then another type of thin inside for the diagonal. Then click OK. And anywhere I want to apply that format, I just select the cells and press F4. This next one is easy and you'll probably use it a lot. If you have multiple sheets like this, from sheet 1 to sheet 5, you can go to the next sheet by pressing Control and then Page Down. So Control Page Down to move to the next sheet. And just like the previous tip, you can press Control and Page Up to move to the previous sheet. Now you can add a date stamp by typing the date manually. Let's say May 14, 2024. But much faster is to press Control and semicolon. So everyone knows you can use your arrow keys to move around your data set, but you can also jump to the edges of your data set. How do you do that? You hold down the Control key and then you use your arrow keys. So down arrow, right arrow, up arrow, left arrow. And you can also jump to another data set. So I'm holding down the Control key now, and then I'm going to press the right arrow, and it jumps me across. So as well as jumping down and up, right and left, we can select down, select right, select up, and select left. So how do we do that? Well, instead of just holding down the Control key, you press and hold the Control key, and then you press and hold the Shift key. And as you use the arrow keys, you can select different parts. So I'm holding down Control and Shift, I press the down arrow, hold down Control Shift, press the right arrow, hold down Control Shift, press up arrow, hold Control Shift, press the left arrow. So using this, you can select columns. To do that, I pressed Control Shift and down arrow, or you can select rows. I press Control Shift and right arrow. You can also select multiple ranges. So I'm going to hold Control Shift, hit down arrow, right arrow, and right arrow. Let's say we want to sum up each of these columns. So I'll use the sum function, and a quick way to do that is a little bonus tip. You press Alt equals, and it writes the sum formula for you. Now I'm going to press Tab to move to the next space. And here's the shortcut I want to show you. You can fill this to the right by selecting these cells and then pressing Control R, R for right. So here, I want to calculate the total sales. I'll use Alt equals to write the sum formula, and then select these cells. And here's the shortcut. I press and hold Control and then press D, and it fills all the formulas down. We've unlocked our first combo, and we'll use it to fill out the total sales column just using the keyboard. So I'll press Alt equals to create the sum formula. Next I'll press Shift Tab to move to the cell on the left. I'll press Control down to move all the way to the end. I'll press right arrow to move one cell to the right. Then I'll hold Control and Shift and then press up arrow. And then the last step is to press Control and D to fill down. So this sounds like a mouthful, but it's very fast after you've practiced it a few times. So just to show you again, Alt equals, Shift Tab, Control down arrow, right, Control Shift up arrow, Control D. For this shortcut, I'm going to use a formula to create the full name and copy it down, then replace the formulas with values. First the formula, equals, first name, ampersand, double quotes, space, double quotes, ampersand, last name, hit enter. Then I'll fill this down, press Ctrl D to fill down, and now to convert all of these formulas into values. Press Ctrl C to copy, then I'll paste them as values, press and hold Ctrl and Alt, then press V. That brings up paste special. Then press V for values and hit enter. And now each of these cells is a value. Here's a shortcut to change row height. I press Alt and then let go, then press H-O-H, and that brings up the row height dialog box. I can enter a number, say 20, hit enter, and it's changed the row height. Here I have some made up corporate personnel data. In column F, you see there's a joining date, but it's too narrow to show in this column. So what I can do is auto-fit the column width. To do that, I press Alt and then let go, then type in H-O-I, and that's auto-fitted the column width. Now let's say I want to show somebody a specific column. I can navigate to it using the arrow keys and then press Control space to highlight the whole column. So if I wanted to highlight column E, I'd move to it and then press Control space, or column D and Control space. So we've unlocked our second combo. I'm going to combine auto fit column width with selecting the entire column. So first I'll select the column with Control space, then press Alt, let go, type H-O-I. I can also do that with multiple columns. So got these two cells selected, press Control space, then Alt HOI. We've just seen how to highlight an entire column by pressing Control space, but we can also highlight an entire row by pressing Shift space. Shift space and Shift space. Let's say we want to quickly get rid of this column. What we can do is use this shortcut to delete it. Press Control and then minus. You can see we've got 4 options: Shift cells left, Shift cells up, delete the entire row, or delete the entire column. We'll select delete the entire column and press OK, and it's gone. We've now unlocked our third combo. So we're going to combine selecting a whole column with delete and selecting a whole row with delete. So I'll show you with column G. I press Control space to select the whole column. Then I press Control minus to delete the column. And if I want to get rid of this row, I'll press Shift space to select the row and Control minus to delete the row. And just like there's a shortcut to delete a column or delete a row, we have a shortcut to insert a column or insert a row. Control, Shift, and then we type plus. And that gives us the insert dialog box, either to shift the cells right, down, or insert an entire row or column. In this case, let's insert an entire column and click OK. We've unlocked our fourth combo. What we'll do is combine selecting an entire column with insert. I'll press Control space to select the entire column, then press Control Shift plus to insert a column, and then I'll add in a new column. So we've got this row in yellow, and here's a shortcut to hide it. I press Control and 9. With the previous shortcut, we hid a row. How do we unhide it? Well, we know there's a row that's hidden in between 5 and 7. All we need to do is press Control Shift 9, and that unhides it. So Control 9 to hide, and Control Shift 9 to unhide. Now we have this column in yellow. What if we want to hide this whole column? All we do is press Control and 0, and that hides the column. What if we want to unhide the column? Well, we know there's a hidden column in between E and G, so we can select these two. Then we press Control Shift 0, and that unhides the column. So Control 0 to hide, and Control Shift 0 to unhide. When you get a new dataset, it's very important to check for hidden rows and columns. All you need to do is press Alt and semicolon to highlight visible cells, and anything that's hidden will come out in this white. So there's a white line here that shows there's a hidden row. There's also one here, and then there's a white line down in this column. So to unhide them all, we can click on this top left corner to select all cells, then press Control Shift 9 and Control Shift 0. So we can group rows and columns to make them collapsible. Let me show you how with the first 10 records here. So I've selected the first 10 rows here, and now I'm going to press Shift Alt right arrow, and you see that's added this line with the minus sign at the bottom in a box. When I press that minus sign, it collapses those rows. I can press the plus sign to expand them again. Now I can also do the same with columns. So let's say I select F, G, and H, then I press Shift Alt right arrow, and it adds the line with the minus sign in a box. When I click that minus sign, it collapses those columns, and I can expand them again by clicking on the plus sign. So if you have grouped rows like this, we can ungroup these by selecting the rows and then pressing Shift-Alt left arrow, and that removes the grouping. And we can do the same with grouped columns. So F, G, and H. I select those columns, then I press Shift-Alt left arrow, and it gets rid of the grouping. So this is a quick way to remove all grouped rows and grouped columns from a sheet. You just press Alt and let go, then A, U, C, and that's removed all the grouped rows and grouped columns. So here's a nice little shortcut if you work a lot with comments, which are now known as notes in Excel 365. So if I wanted to add a comment or a note, I can click on a cell and then press and hold Shift, then press F2, then let go of both. And I can now type a comment. And I'll hit Escape twice to come out. And if I want to edit that comment, all I need to do is press Shift and F2, and now I can edit the comment. Let me show you how to quickly format cells. So I'm going to select these cells first as the headers. Then I'm going to press Ctrl and 1, and that will bring up the Format Cells dialog box. So I can make my changes, say change the font size, change the fill color, make it maybe a light blue, then click OK, and there we go. So anytime you want to change the format of a cell, you select the cell or cells, and then press Ctrl and 1 to bring up the Format Cells dialog box. Let's find out how to create a clickable hyperlink, so when I click on favorite food, it takes us straight to the food list here. So back on this sheet, I'm going to select the cell, and then I'm going to press CTRL K to insert a hyperlink. Now we want to place it in this document. The text to display is fine. A1 as well is a good cell reference. And all I need to do now is select a place in this document to link to. So I'll select food list. Then I click on OK. Now I'll do a bit of quick formatting. Use the format painter to change that back to how it looked before. Change the font color to blue and then add an underline. And now we can click on this hyperlink to go straight to the food list. Let's create bookmarks using named ranges. I've selected this cell C1, and now I'm going to press Alt F3. That highlights the name box, and I can type in personnel, hit enter. Now it's changed the name of that cell to personnel. If I now go down to the food list sheet and click on food list, I can press Alt F3 again and change the name of that to food list and hit enter. Now if I want to switch back to personnel, all I have to do is press Alt F3 and type in personnel, hit enter, and it jumps me to the personnel. And again, if I want to jump to the food list, I press Alt F3 and type food list, hit enter, and it jumps me to the food list. And if you need to manage your names, here's a little bonus tip. Press Ctrl F3 to bring up the name manager. So Ctrl F3 brings up this name manager where you can edit or delete the named ranges, and Alt F3 brings you to the name box. Let's search for pad thai in this worksheet. We'll press Ctrl F first, and that brings up the find and replace dialog box. We're going to type in pad thai here in the find what. Click on next. Now we can close the dialog box, and to find the next occurrence, all we need to do is press Shift and F4. So Shift and F4 will find the next occurrence. Control Shift and F4 will go back to the previous one. Now let's create a set of email addresses for all these people. We're going to do it a special way. First, we'll insert a column. Then we'll type the first email address. And we'll type the second one. Given these two, what we can now do is press Ctrl E, and Excel will automatically fill in the email addresses based on what we provided in the first two cells. Now I'll show you a quick way to add filters to your datasets so you can use these drop-down arrows to choose options. All you need to do is press CTRL SHIFT and L, and that applies the filters. Press CTRL SHIFT and L again to take them away. Once you've applied filters to your dataset, you can use a keyboard shortcut to activate the drop-down menu. So first we'll select this cell department using the right arrow key. Next, I'll press Alt and down arrow, and that opens the drop-down. Next, you can use the arrow key down to select downwards or up to go up, and press Enter to select the option. Now we've come to our fifth combo. We're going to use keyboard shortcuts to sort and filter this dataset. So first we'll press CTRL, SHIFT and L to add filters. Then we'll hit CTRL and up arrow to jump up to the top header row. And finally we press Alt and down arrow to open the drop down. And then we can sort A to Z, press Enter, job done. Now you can use this drop down and then select manually. Let's say we wanted marketing and then click OK, but that takes quite a few clicks. You can replace those clicks with a keyboard shortcut. So we've got department selected, press Alt down, then press E, and you notice that highlights the search box. And simply type in marketing and hit Enter. Much faster. How do we quickly clear an applied filter? Well, press Alt down to activate this drop down. Then notice where it says clear filter, you can either click on this or you see there's an underline on the letter C. That's the accelerator key. So all you need to do is press C and it will clear the filters. How do we clear multiple filters quickly? In this case, we've got department, and that's filtered by sales. And we've got favorite food, which is filtered by pizza. Now we could just click on clear filter from favorite food and then do the same from department. But there's a much faster way, and that is just to press Alt A C, and it clears all applied filters. Let me show you an amazing shortcut that you can use to quickly insert the name of the workbook in a cell. I'm going to type xfile, press space, hit enter, and there we go. There's the name of the workbook. But how do I achieve that? We're going to use Excel's autocorrect feature to replace the word xfile with the full text of the formula. So the formula is equals text after, open parenthesis, text before, open parenthesis, cell, open parenthesis, double quotes, file name, double quotes, close parenthesis, comma, double quotes, close square bracket, double quotes, close parenthesis, comma, double quotes, open square bracket, double quotes, close parenthesis. And I'm going to copy that text into the autocorrect function. So as we learned in shortcut 1, press Alt Q for search, type in autocorrect and select this best action. Then click on autocorrect options. And down here, where it says replace, you choose what you want to replace. In this case, xfile for Excel file, and replace it with, paste the formula, click on add, and then click on OK. Then click on OK again. And now, when I type the word xfile and press space, it replaces it with the formula, and then when I hit enter, it converts it into the file name. As you can see here, shortcuts1, shortcuts1.xlsx. Now here's a really cool trick that you can use in Excel or anywhere else in Windows. You press the window key plus period, and that brings up the emoji picker. But this is not the tip. Instead of inserting an emoji, what you can also do is insert symbols. So for instance, you might want to use this bullet point, or maybe the triangle symbol, or a small dot, and then you can choose from any of the symbols inside here. And then press escape to close it. We've now reached combo 6. And what I can do is use this shortcut, ::space, to create a bullet point. And I can use this shortcut, semicolon, to create a triangle. How do I achieve that? First press Alt-Q. That brings us to the search box, then type Autocorrect and click on this action, and then click on Autocorrect options. Then we want to replace : with Windows period. We're going to pick some punctuation here. We will choose this bullet point, close that, click on add, and now we will also replace semicolon with, remove that bullet point, bring up the Emoji Picker with Windows and period, click on the punctuation, and then click on the triangle symbol. Close the picker, click on add, hit OK, and OK again. And now we can enter bullet points, 2 colons and a space for a bullet, 2 semicolons for a triangle. How do I select cells which have constants in them, like this 85,000, as opposed to formulas, like this equals C5 times 0.27? Well, we'll do that by pressing CTRL G for go to, Alt S for special. This brings up the go to special dialog box. Then we want to select constants by pressing the letter O, and we'll deselect text by pressing the letter X, and then hit OK, or press return. And that selects all the values which are constants but not text. Now to highlight formulas, what we do is press CTRL G for the go to box, press Alt S for special, and then press the letter F for formulas, and then click OK or press return. And there, all the formulas are highlighted. So we have this cell. How do we know which other cells depend on it? We can trace dependence with a very simple shortcut. It's Alt-MD, and a good way to remember that is my dependence. Alt-M for my, D for dependence. And you can see with the arrows, this cell depends on it, and this cell depends on it. Now let's see which cells precede this one or feed into it. We're going to trace its precedence. So the mnemonic for this, to remember this, is my precedence. My M, precedence P, MP. So we will select the cell and then hit Alt M P, my precedence. And you see the arrow indicates the first cell inside this box, and it means both of these cells are its precedence. Let's say you've used trace my dependence and trace my precedence, and you've got all these arrows and boxes. How do you clear these quickly? There's a simple shortcut for that, which has a mnemonic, my auditing arrows, MAA. So to clear my auditing arrows, all you need to do is press Alt, then MAA, and that removes all the arrows. Up here is my quick access toolbar, and I can customize it to create my own shortcuts. We're going to choose tools like the format painter that we can quickly activate using a keyboard shortcut. So when I press Alt, notice that it brings up numbers next to each of these tools. When I press the corresponding number, it activates that tool. So down here, I'm going to use the format painter First, I'll select this row. Now I'll press Alt 1, and that up here has selected the format painter inside my quick access toolbar. Then I can apply that same format to the cells here. And now I'm going to use the second tool on the quick access toolbar, which is an auto filter. Let's say I want to filter by support. I click on that cell and then press Alt and 2. And so we've filtered this dataset for sales category support. The last thing I'll do is clear the filter. And to do that, all I need to do is activate this tool, which is called clear. And to do that, we'll press Alt and 3. Now let's look at how we actually customize the quick access toolbar. We go down to more commands. That brings up Excel options to customize the quick access toolbar. I've got these already here, so let me first remove them and show you how to add. So within popular commands, we look for the format painter, which is down here. Click on that to add it. And we want to move this up to position 1, and to do that we use this up arrow. Now it's in position 1. Next we're going to add the auto filter, and to do that we select from commands not in the ribbon and scroll down a little bit till we find auto filter. Then we click on add, and notice that's now in position 2. And finally we're going to add clear all filters, and to do that we're going to click on this drop down and find in the data tab, scroll down a little bit, here it is, clear all filters, and then add that, and that's in position 3. So we'll click on OK, and we can go and apply format painter, the auto filter, and clear all filters using the keyboard shortcuts Alt plus 1 or Alt plus 2 and Alt plus 3. For our final shortcut today, I'm going to show you how to filter your dataset faster. First, we're going to convert this into a table. So we'll do that with Ctrl T. That creates the table. We're going to click on OK. Next, in Table Design, we're going to insert a slicer. We'll select Sales Category and then click on OK. Let's reposition this. And up in Slicer, we can change the number of columns and then resize. Now I'll reposition it a little bit. And with our slicer, what we can do is click on a category and it will filter by that category. Or we can hold Control and click on another category and it will select both. And you can do the same, Control and click to keep adding. And if you want to clear it, just come here and clear the filter. You can see how powerful you can be by learning Excel shortcuts, but there's more to Excel than shortcuts. So I put together a list of my top 30 Excel tips and tricks. These will save you hours and create impressive results by helping you to work smarter, not harder. If this sounds good, check out my next video here.